Cheating wife tucks in their kids, then opens the door and freezes at who's there. The click of the latch was the only sound in the otherwise silent house. 8 years. 8 years of building this life, brick by painstaking brick. 8 years of laughter echoing in these hallways, of tiny handprints smudged on freshly painted walls, of whispered promises and shared dreams beneath the duvet in our bedroom. Now the silence felt oppressive, heavy with secrets. She emerged from the kids' room, her smile still plastered on, the kind reserved for bedtime stories and lullabies. It faltered, then vanished altogether when she saw me standing in the doorway. Her eyes, usually sparkling with warmth, were wide with a cold, stunned fear. "Barrett, I didn't hear you come in." Her voice was barely a breath, almost inaudible. I didn't respond. I simply held up my phone, the screen illuminated with a picture, her and him, entwined in our car in broad daylight. A casual snapshot a friend had sent, one that had shattered my world into a million pieces. The blood drained from her face. She swayed, one hand reaching out to the wall for support. The performance was Oscar-worthy. "Barrett, please let me explain." The words were choked, rehearsed. "Explain what, Julia? Explain how you could look into our children's eyes, kiss them goodnight, knowing you were betraying everything we built together." My voice was low, dangerously calm, the anger inside me a raging inferno barely contained. She stammered, tears welling up. Don't insult me with your crocodile tears. Save it for your lover." The name hung in the air, thick with disgust. Daniel, my supposed friend, the one who'd been there for me through thick and thin, offering advice, sharing beers, all the while systematically dismantling my life. He means nothing to me," she whispered, her voice trembling. I laughed, a harsh, hollow sound. "Nothing? You were willing to risk everything, our family, our home, our children's happiness, for nothing." The silence that followed was deafening. She knew she was caught, exposed. "Where is he?" My voice was barely above a whisper. She flinched. I don't know." The lie was transparent. I pulled out my phone again, this time dialing Daniel's number and putting it on speaker. It rang 3 times before he answered, his voice jovial, unsuspecting. "Hey, Barrett, what's up?" The casual greeting. The audacity of it sent a fresh wave of fury through me. Julia's eyes were fixed on me, pleading, terrified. "Daniel," I said, my voice still calm, dangerously so. "I know." Silence on the other end. Then a stammered, "Know what?" I held up the phone, showing Julia the screen, Daniel's name flashing. "Know about you and my wife. Know about your little rendezvous in my car." Another silence. Then a click. He'd hung up. Coward. Julia collapsed onto the floor, sobbing hysterically. I watched her, feeling nothing. The love, the trust, the years of shared memories, all reduced to ashes. I left her there, walked out of the house, and got into my car. I drove aimlessly at first, the rage a burning coal in my chest. Then I knew where I was going. Daniel lived in a sleek, modern apartment complex, a stark contrast to our modest family home. I parked across the street and waited. It didn't take long. He emerged, looking disheveled, his face pale. He was on the phone, his voice panicked, probably calling Julia. I got out of the car and walked toward him. He saw me and froze, his phone clattering to the pavement. "Barrett," he stammered, his eyes wide with fear. I didn't say a word. I just walked up to him and swung. My fist connected with his jaw, sending him sprawling to the ground. He cried out, clutching his face. You bastard," I roared, standing over him. "You betrayed me. You destroyed my family." He cowered, trying to shield himself from my fury. I grabbed him by the collar and hauled him to his feet. "You think you can just walk away from this?" I snarled. "You think you can steal my wife and everything I've worked for?" He whimpered, his eyes darting around, looking for an escape. There was none. "I'm going to ruin you, Daniel," I said, my voice low and menacing. I'm going to take everything from you, just like you took everything from me. I released him, and he stumbled back, his face bruised and bloody. I turned and walked away, leaving him crumpled on the sidewalk, a broken, pathetic figure. The next few weeks were a blur. The divorce proceedings were messy, painful. Julia fought me every step of the way, trying to paint me as the villain, the unstable one. But I had the evidence, the proof of her betrayal. The judge saw through her lies. I got custody of the kids. They were confused, heartbroken. I tried my best to explain, to shield them from the ugliness of it all, but the damage was done. Daniel, meanwhile, lost everything: his reputation, his job, his fancy apartment. He became a pariah, ostracized by everyone who knew him. His world, the one he'd built on lies and deceit, crumbled around him. It wasn't the revenge I had initially craved. It wasn't satisfying. It was hollow, empty. The only solace I found was in my children's eyes, in their unconditional love. We were broken, scarred, but we were together. And slowly, painfully, we began to heal, to rebuild our lives, brick by painstaking brick. The silence in the house was no longer oppressive. It was filled with the quiet murmur of resilience, the whispered promise of a new beginning.